Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Amazing Indiana. My name's Fred. It's great to have you on the channel today. Please remember to subscribe and also like this video. Today, I'm at Mounds State Park here in Anderson, Indiana. Mounds State Park is also a fairly easy drive from both Fort Wayne and Indianapolis. And this is a unique state park in the Indiana park system, because this state park preserves some important archaeological history of Indiana. What we're going to be seeing today are some of the mysterious Indian mounds that were built by Native American people in this part of the country 2,000 years ago. This is one of Indiana's earliest state parks, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with you today on Amazing Indiana. You're going to want to begin your visit to Mounds State Park at the Visitor Center near the entrance to the park. The Visitor Center has many fascinating exhibits. The most fascinating part of Mounds State Park, obviously, are the mounds. And inside the Visitor Center, you're going to find displays regarding not only the mounds that we find here at Mounds State Park, but also other Native American earthen mounds around the Midwest and also around the United States. The belief is that many of these mounds were built by Native American people who became known as the Hopewell People, and there are examples of Hopewell earthen mounds all over the Midwest. Some of them have unfortunately disappeared, but many of them have been preserved. So we're going to be seeing today the earthen mounds here at Mounds State Park, as well as exploring the rest of the park. It's a very lovely place. Interestingly enough, Mounds State Park was also the home of an amusement park, and that amusement park was here from roughly the early 1900s to about the time of the Great Depression, 1929. It was known as Mounds Amusement Park, and one of the things that we will see today are a few of the remnants of the amusement park. We're not going to see any big roller coaster or anything like that, but we will see some of the examples of the amusement park here at Mounds State Park, and that is indeed part of the history of this area. Behind me is the Brandenburg House. The Brandenburgs were settlers from Germany who came to this part of Indiana in the early 1800s, and they had a farm here on what is now Mounds State Park. Now, they're very, very important for the history of this park and the preservation of the mounds. Once people found out that there were ancient Indian mounds in this area, many treasure seekers and amateur archaeologists wanted to come out and start digging up the mounds. And Mr. Brandenburg was instrumental in keeping people from doing that and preserving the mounds so that they could be properly studied later on by archaeologists from Indiana institutions and also other institutions of higher learning here in the United States. The house, unfortunately, is not open today for tours, but sometimes it is, and you can go in and see an example of how the Brandenburgs lived here on what is now Mounds State Park. So, after leaving the Brandenburg House, we're going to be walking down this very nice paved trail, and this will get us in the area of some of the mounds. Now, one of the things to realize here is that Mounds State Park is what we might refer to almost as an urban state park, meaning that it is not too far out in the wilderness. It is very close to Anderson, Indiana, and as you can see, there's a lot of traffic on this road that the trail runs parallel to. This is a great biking trail. Also, a lot of local people come out here to walk, and you can see as I show you that there are a lot of houses that are right up across the street from the park. So this is not a place where you're going to be deep in the woods, though once we get down to the White River, it will have more of an isolated feeling to it. So as you hike towards the mounds, you come upon this particular sign, and it's very instructive and helps to explain the history of this area. As I mentioned before, there used to be an interurban train that came from Indianapolis, also Fort Wayne and other areas. And this train brought people to what is now Mounds State Park, and it actually brought them to the Mounds Amusement Park, which was open from 1897 to 1929. And it was, as the sign here says, a premier attraction for miles around. And it was built, this amusement park was actually built very, very close to the mounds. And you can see a map here which shows the location of the mounds, and it also shows some of the attractions at the amusement park. The amusement park had its own roller coaster, it had a restaurant, it had this neat little train that went through the area, and people would come out on the weekends and they would spend time here. It was a great place for families to gather. It also had circus acts out at the park, and so it's fascinating to me, the history of this place. And as we turn around now, we're actually going to be moving towards what is known as the Great Mound. And it would be really easy to not quite appreciate what you're seeing right now. This just looks, for all intent and purposes, like a, well, I don't know, just a couple of gentle hills. But as you get up close, you can see that this was very, very intentionally built. Now, the scientific and archaeological community is out, I think, on exactly why the Native American people built these mounds. The current theory is that these mounds served a ceremonial purpose, and the mounds were used actually as a large calendar. And various solstices would line up with, for example, the opening of some of the mounds. So as we move forward here, we're moving now into the Great Mound, and this boardwalk was recently completed by the state of Indiana, and it takes you right into the mound, and you can see how the mound is constructed. There is an outer ring, you can see that very clearly, and as you move along the boardwalk, you can see that there is this raised area in the center of the mound. Now, one of the things which the state is doing is removing some of these trees so that we get the look of what the mounds were like back over 2,000 years ago, when Native American people would gather here for various ceremonial purposes. So this is the Great Mound, and it's absolutely a lovely place. There's birds flying around right now, and lots of crickets and probably cicadas are singing their little hearts out at what is now the end of summer. So moving from the Great Mound, you move on to some smaller earthen mounds down this trail, and we're approaching those right now. One of the interesting things that you can learn about these mounds is that they were actually a fairly tremendous and complex building project for Native American people, and it may have taken them as much as 250 years to complete these mounds. So what was going on, obviously, was that there were indeed Native American people who were passing the construction responsibility of these mounds down to their children, their grandchildren, and other generations. And here we come upon some of the other mounds. Now, one of the things to be very honest about is that unlike the Hopewell mounds that you find in Ohio, these mounds are not nearly as big or as impressive. However, bear in mind that these people had to move tremendous quantities of dirt, a basket full at a time. And so this one is called the Fiddleback mound, and it is kind of in the shape of a figure 8. There are lots of earthen mounds around Indiana and Ohio, and as you can see here as I pan around, you can see the distinctive depressions, and you can move over this way and you can see more of the mound. And as I move the camera back here for all of you, you're now able to see the side view of the Great Mound. So these mounds were an engineering feat for Native American people, and I don't think many of us really appreciate how hard it was for Native American people to lug all of this dirt. And remember that they were doing that in baskets, one basket at a time. And so they also had to practice a tremendous amount of cooperation to get these mounds built. This particular trail takes you down to the White River here at Mounds State Park, and we're going to go down to the river. But what's instructive and important for you to see here is take a look at how dense this forest is. So not only did these Native American people have to lug a lot of dirt, and again, they were using baskets to do that, but they also had to clear out a lot of vegetation. How they did that, I'm not sure anybody really knows with any degree of certainty. However, they did probably have to use rather primitive tools in order to clear the land so that they could start moving that dirt around and start building the mound. So it is impressive as you walk through here to just kind of reflect on that and think about that. This is a really nice trail. It is eventually going to take us down to the White River, and the White River moves through this part of Indiana, and it will eventually end up flowing through downtown Indianapolis. And as we move down the trail, there's a lot of insect life that we can hear, the cicadas, the crickets, what have you. And also as we get down towards the White River, hopefully we might even see some birds. I have had good luck here before photographing some birds. I got some good pictures of an owl perched on a tree here on my last visit, which was probably 3 or 4 months ago. The trail on this part of the journey is kind of steep. This is the trail that's going to take us all the way down to the White River, and the state has very helpfully put in these steps to help us get down to the water. So if you're coming here and steps are a problem for you, you can also take a trail which will loop around and not come. You won't have to deal with these steps, which, they are kind of steep. And you need to just be careful and take your time. So this is one of the few items that's still left from Mounds Amusement Park. This is an old artesian well, and what would happen is water would come up out of this, and people could take their cups, and they could carry a tin cup into the park. Guests would purchase it, and they were able then to scoop out some really nice, cool water as they wandered the grounds here. The well is no longer operating, but every time I'm here, I do see that there is a lot of collected water down here at the base of the old well. So I think there is still water actually percolating up through this part of the soil, but this is kind of interesting. This is the remnant of the Mounds Amusement Park, which went belly up during the Great Depression in 1929. And we are looking right now at the beautiful White River. Behind me is the White River, and the river is flowing that away. There's a little tiny rapids here. The White River is actually a wonderful place to take a kayak down. My wife and I have done that in the past. There's a couple of kayaking outfits around Anderson and around Muncie who will put you on the White River, and it is actually possible to get on the White River up in Anderson, Indiana, and go all the way down to Indianapolis. So it's kind of a nice trip. The river is flowing really nicely right now, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And one of the great things about this river is that it attracts a lot of birds, and I'm hoping to get some pictures of various birds along the riverbank today. I'm toting along with me on this episode of Amazing Indiana my huge camera, so I do want to get some great pictures. As we look downstream at the White River, I want to direct your attention to this pile of bricks over here. This is a remnant of what I think was probably the boat dock for the old amusement park. People used to actually travel by boat to the amusement park on the White River, and there were docks along the White River, and you could get out and go up to the amusement park. So this, I believe, is probably one of the foundations of some of the dock system that was here when the amusement park was operating. Mounds State Park is filled with a lot of lovely little springs that come down through the rock, which is above the White River, and this water then flows into the White River, and there are several springs around, and these were very helpful for not only the first Native American people who were in this area, but also for all of those tourists who came to ride the big old roller coaster that used to be on this land, and which now you cannot find a trace of. Down here by the river, one enters into much lusher forest, and this is very, very nice. It's nice and cool down here. It's kind of a hot August day here at Mounds State Park. We're in the last days of summer, and that fills me with a certain amount of melancholy. I enjoy the change of seasons, but it's kind of sad to see some of the wildflowers are beginning to lose their petals. They're beginning to die. But what's going to happen here in a month or two is that we're going to start to see the leaves change, and that will have its own lovely beauty. We're away from the White River right now. I've climbed a trail. It's trail number 3, and it leads you up away from the river, up along this marvelous wooded path, and you go through some really nice deep forest here. It's gorgeous up this way. Everything is just so wonderfully green right now, and again, I am kind of filled with that melancholy because I do know that fall is on its way. The leaves will begin to change, and that'll be pretty, and then the leaves will fall, and I can't wait to come back to see how different this area is going to look when it's winter time. However, the summer days are rapidly waning away right now, and this is going to be probably my last trip to Mounds State Park during the summer months. I love this particular trail that I'm on, by the way, because most people hike along the river, so you can have some real solitude up here on some of these side trails which lead away from the river. So when you're hiking this area, make sure you check that out. So I pulled up for a rest here. It's getting kind of hot. I think the temperature today is supposed to get up to, about 90 degrees. So important, even in a kind of an easy hike like this one here at Mounds State Park, to pull up every so often. Make sure that you properly hydrate yourself. As you can probably see, I am sweating up a storm right now, and part of that is because I'm carrying all of this gear on my back, but it is awfully hot and muggy. So it's important to keep yourself properly hydrated, which I think I'll do right now, and also just rest from time to time so that you're not overstressing yourself. Always remember that when you're out hiking, and it's not a race, it's supposed to be an enjoyable experience. So take time to rest. And here in Mounds State Park, this is just absolutely gorgeous. I found a nice bench here in the woods, and it's a wonderful place to take a little bit of a rest. Unfortunately, I've been carrying this big camera around with me with that huge lens, and I have not seen too many birds. Hopefully that'll change. I did get these pictures of some ducks that were down in the river, and they were happily feeding, but I'd like to get some more pictures. As I mentioned, and I'll put the picture up right now, when I was here a couple months back, I got this picture of an owl that was seated in a tree overlooking the White River. So there are birds aplenty around the river. You just have to kind of be lucky and hit them at the right time. So hopefully as I go up the trail, I'm going to see more wildlife, and I hope to get some more pictures and share those with you guys. This is the Circle Mound at Mounds State Park, and as I move the camera around so that you can see, I'm right now standing in what would have been considered the entrance to this mound. You can see the embankments on either side, and then it almost seems like that's a moat down there, but it's not. And same thing over on this side. Now, the fascinating thing here is, as I return the camera to this position and walk forward just a little bit, the sun would have shone directly between these two hills on both March the 21st and on September the 21st. This is a long kind of rectangular mound system, and as I walk along on the pathway here, you can see the mound over on the other side there, and then this kind of island structure. That's the only thing I know to call it. And so again, the sun would have been directly in front of me here where those cars are going on September the 21st and on March the 21st. So what this required the Native American people to do, the Hopewell people, was to align this align the opening of this particular mound with the sun on those 2 days of the year. So fascinating. They must have used they must have used some kind of stake system so that they were able to maintain the desired pathway for the sun on this particular mound. Once again, we're on the shores of the White River, and we've reached actually the end of our journey through Mounds State Park here in Anderson, Indiana. And as I move the camera around, I'm providing you with some shots up the river. This river will eventually wind its way all the way down into Indianapolis, not that far away actually. This is about as far north as you can hike along the White River and still remain in the confines of the state park. So Mounds State Park is a lovely place. I hope that you have enjoyed our journey through it today, and that you will check it out, whether you're a Hoosier or whether you're just passing through. The Indian Mounds are fascinating to look at, and it is kind of interesting to speculate on exactly how they were built and how those Native American people knew to line them up with the various solstices. So until next time, I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you again on another episode of Amazing Indiana. And don't forget to like this video and to subscribe to the channel.